Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and in the, you're wearing a hoodie. In the, next to me here.
Yeah, but it's Kevlar.
Yes, excellent. That's
Yeah.
good. You're very safe here. Geraldo would not approve, however.
No?
No. He says don't wear hoodies. Well, you're not. Never mind. Anyway. this is
Irish?
Don't.
Irish? Is that what you were going to say, Matt? I'm not Irish?
I don't know. Are you? What ethnicity are you? originally?
Mongrel, mostly.
Oh, okay. Anyway, this is the Honorable Mongrel Gary S. Hopper, New Hampshire State Representative. How are you, Gary?
All right, young fellow. How are you?
I'm well. I'm doing well. That last show was interesting, huh?
Yeah,
A little
the-
dicey there for a while.
The lady was hitting on you and stuff like that.
I know. What can I say?
Yeah? Well, if you got it, flaunt it.
That's right.
Hey, you see Elizabeth in the typical female fashion couldn't deal with our Facebook page for Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, so she remodeled it.
I saw that. Yes.
I was appreciative of that. That's really cool.
Absolutely. She did a nice job. Yes.
So anyway, Matt, I've been inventing today.
Good. I love your inventions.
Our guest is Kurt Wepler from New Hampshire Right to Life.
Okay. Hi, Kurt.
Just-
Welcome.
Hey, Matt.
Where he's been
Yeah,
on,
thanks.
he's on before, but anyway, so I got a couple of inventions I'm working on. One is I got this watch. It's a, what is it? Citizen? Citizen.
Okay.
Okay, and the date is always wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, because I have to reset that every month, and I just don't bother.
Right.
And I'm thinking today, how many other people go through that? Because, you got February that's 28 or 29, you got January is 31, then, March is 31 today, this month is 30, and they don't even bother,
Right.
right? So, as a legislator, I'm about solving problems.
Yes, that is what
That's what I do.
legislators
So we're going to have a law.
So we're going to pass a law,
Good.
okay, that we're going to have 12 months, the same 12 months we have now, with 30 days in each individual month.
Really?
And then, at the beginning of the year, they will have the month of Gary.
Well,
Okay.
And
Yes.
it'll only have 6 days in it.
5.
Five and a
Five.
quarter. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
The whole
5.
month?
Yeah, and
It's
what,
a
once
short month.
So that's
Yeah.
where the leftover days go. They go to the month of Gary.
they go to the month of Gary.
Okay.
And
It's-
then,
it's
just
genius.
coincidence, it's wicked smart.
Yes.
And so anyway, you got the month of Gary, and it turns out that my birthday is on January 1st, but once we change this, my birthday will come on the 5th day of Gary,
As it should.
as it should be.
Yes.
And then people can send me stuff.
you can have the 5 days of Gary. You could
can
have a
have the-
song called,
Yes.
on the 5 days
On
of Gary.
Gary.
My true love came to me.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's that's my invention.
Are you confident that this will pass? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, who wouldn't go for that?
Well, I know. It just makes sense, really.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
common sense solutions to a problem that no one realized was a problem. It's perfect. Well, no one realized it until you brought it to the forefront.
Right.
We all realized
Oh,
it.
that's a lot better.
Yes.
And then the other invention I came up with today, that I'm still working on the design, it's got some design issues, but I'm working on that, is how many people go into a store, okay, just because they have to use the bathroom.
I do it all the
They
time.
go into
That's why
Dunkin'
they put 'em way
Donuts.
in the back and they hide them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they hide them, and then they go into the back, or they have to buy a cup of coffee because they feel bad about
Right.
drive-by toilets.
Ooh. Yes.
You save yourself $4 or something like that because you bought stuff you didn't really need. Because you
Like
just
a
had.
vacuum cleaner, you drive up, pull the holes inside the car.
Oh, you're stealing my design already?
I'm just
I haven't
just
even got the
asking.
patent on it yet.
Yeah. No, that's good though.
What a jerk!
Well, he's helping. He's trying to help.
Helping, that's
yeah,
all.
He's
Wow.
Because maybe you didn't. I mean, is that how were you were going to do it with the vacuum?
No, I hadn't actually gotten that far with the design.
Oh, okay. Well, he's ready. You got to cut him in now.
So I really am helping.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, my design kind of was more of a modified seats in your vehicle.
Okay.
You know,
Oh yeah, they got heated and cooled and everything else. There's
Yeah.
no reason why they couldn't put a little
a lid.
commode underneath there.
Sure. Why not?
know.
Really.
As well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, especially if you're driving with kids.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
times you got to stop just because you can take a cotton picking 2-hour travel time and turn it into 4 hours if you get kids.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So this is the way my mind thinks. I'm trying to come up with solutions.
Practical.
Practical, so we got the month of Gary
Solutions,
and
yes.
drive-by toilets.
Yes. I think that
I'm
think
gonna be rich.
the drive-by toilets should go on the market during the month of Gary.
Yes,
It's
that'd be
only
perfect.
right.
That
Yes.
would be,
Yes.
Okay.
Well, synergy. Synergy.
Yes,
you
yes.
gotta build a brand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you're sick. Anyway,
You brought all this stuff up. We're just playing along.
He's talking to himself. His
yeah, pretty much.
voice in his head.
Yes. Voices in my head. What is going on this week? You got a computator, don't you? Or is that
A computator.
yes?
A
Yeah.
computer. There's a computer here.
Can you do a Google search for me?
Absolutely.
What's going on this week?
Yeah, well, I think I got the date. Yeah, where am I? And what day is it? No, what's the place I was talking to you about before? The New Hampshire walk.
The CareNet Walk?
CareNet, yeah. Check New Hampshire CareNet. Find out if the walk's this weekend. I want to announce it if it is. I think it's Saturday. Yeah, it's a 2-mile walk for CareNet.
Let's see here.
Yeah. So well, he's
Internet pregnancies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
CareNet
yeah,
Pregnancy
yeah,
Centers.
yeah.
Yeah, they have a walk every year. It's a major fundraiser
every
for them.
year. It's like it's only 2 miles.
Oh, walking for a good cause.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, May 10th. Oh
Yeah.
wait, no, I'm sorry. That was in 2008. All right. You know what? Let me try searching, and I'll tack a 2012 on there because it's giving me old information.
Yeah. This is really boring waiting for you to come up with this.
I know, right? I'd be a terrible internet
This is a great
researcher.
cause, though.
Oh, I got
CareNet
it.
Pregnancy
I know it
Centers.
is.
May
You
12th.
May 12th.
May
May
12th.
12th.
Yes.
All right, so that's this Saturday, right?
Oh,
No,
wait,
this
that's
is-
in-
This is April.
Oh, no.
Yes, this is April.
I thought it was supposed to be this week.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, it's May 5th. I'm sorry. May 12th is in Nashua. I apologize. May 5th is in Nashua.
Okay.
It is in Manchester.
Oh, okay. So what is that? A couple weeks away?
Well, it's- what's
About
today?
3.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, May 5th. CareNet is, for people who don't know, is a pro-life group that, an alternative. So if women are having get pregnant and want help, or and want an alternative to Planned Parenthood, they can go to CareNet, and there's a lot of counselors there that can tell kids what to do and where they can go to get
Free.
help. It's a great
Oh, really? Yeah, it's
organization.
free.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as far as I understand it, all the pregnancy centers in our country, the Heartbeat centers, the CareNet centers, and even the independent centers, the services are all free. And they're there to encourage women to keep their children and to be effective parents.
Yeah.
They can hook them up with various types of resources that are available. Obviously, they give a lot of counseling on pregnancy and abortion and the risks and the health factors, the costs, all those types of things. But they're very supportive of the women and of their children, even after they're born.
Is this a New Hampshire organization, or
No,
are they beyond?
CareNet's national.
Oh, they are? Okay.
There are two
Wow.
major national organizations that run pregnancy centers.
Okay.
Or that operate under their umbrellas. The pregnancy centers do. One is CareNet. That's the largest one. I think they have something like 1,200 nationwide. And
Okay.
Heartbeat has, I'm guessing now, 800 or 750 or 800, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So they're by far the two largest pregnancy center networks in our country.
Oh, okay.
And the differences between them are just theological.
Okay.
CareNet has a different statement of faith business you have to be part of, you have to adhere to from what Heartbeat has. Outside of that, they're hardly any different.
Okay.
Right. So anyway, I guess that was May 5th. I thought
May
it was supposed to be
5th.
this weekend.
So as long as
I know
you're
they
doing the
announced it.
promo for them, you ought to tell them how to become part of that.
Yeah, Matt.
Well, there's a website, carenetnh.org.
There you go.
Okay.
So,
It's carenetnh1word.org.
yep. So that's pretty easy.
Yep, CareNetNH.org. Go there, find out more information if you're having troubles. But yeah, I got a friend from church as a counselor there and stuff like that. It's some pretty, talking to people. The women that have had abortions, when you talk to them, even 10, 20 years later, they still are upset about it.
Sure.
It's not as clinical as the people of Planned Parenthood would love you to believe.
No, there's, what is, recently, they've actually shown that there's an emotional connection between the mother and her baby, almost from the time of conception, and that just grows and grows and grows to where we get to, at the time of delivery, you have mother's love, as we've all known it, and recognized it as being about the strongest tie there is in the physical world. And women are much more relational than we are. We men, we don't understand this stuff. And it's true, I don't. But I know that's the way it is.
We don't want to, you mean?
No, we're just wired differently than they
I
are.
don't want to.
You know, there's such a thing as men and women, mothers and fathers.
Yeah, no, I was
Yeah.
a few weeks ago, we had that heat wave, you know?
Yeah, and is that what happened to you?
No, a few weeks, we were having the heat wave. I was walking to do the show, and I was looking over this couple along the, out in the main street on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And this guy is sitting there just looking at this girl, talking to her, and absolutely hooked on every word, syllable coming out of
Hanging
this
on every
girl's.
little, yeah.
There's people walking by, girls walking by. There's no
Right.
eye movement.
In the zone.
He's in the zone. I say, man, they ain't married.
Right. Right.
Oh, Gary, that's bad.
I know.
That's
I know. It's a
bad.
rotten thing to
right?
say.
It is, because we should be devoted to our wives.
Yes, we should,
That
but
we
we're
should.
guys.
That's how we love, as Christ loved our wives, as Christ loved us, right?
I myself have never been
Yeah, don't say
Married,
it. Don't
that's
say it
okay.
out loud.
that thing. Yes.
That
Yes,
thing.
that
I've never
thing.
been that. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. That just means that you have more joy and happiness ahead of you.
Ooh, I like that.
Thank you.
And that's what I'm gonna. If my girlfriend ever starts dropping hints about wanting to get married, I will say to her,
You
"Honey,
can start
I
dropping
want to make
hints.
sure we have plenty of joy and happiness ahead of us. So let's, so we have something to look forward to. Let's, hold off."
I have to
Right.
tell you this, and I got to credit my wife for this, which is always hard for me.
Yeah.
But
Obviously, she's not watching.
she's watching my grandchildren, which is what
Oh,
I
yeah?
should be
So
doing.
she's busy.
but-
man.
but-
That's good.
We've been going out for a couple of years, and she said to me one day, she said, we got to get married. I said, no, we don't have to.
Right. We don't have to do anything.
She said, yeah. She says, because we're going nowhere, right? We're at a place in our relationship, and it's not going anywhere. And I don't want to go take it to another level, and so we have to get married. And so we did, and she was right. So there you go. So when you want to get to the next level of your relationships, you'll get married.
Yeah. Women are like that. They always want to.
Ruin
Always
everything.
want-
They ruin everything.
Yeah,
pretty
they
much.
want.
No, they
it to,
don't.
They always want it to go somewhere.
They're hard to live with. I agree to that. A lot of concessions.
Oh, she's
right?
definitely not watching, is she? Oh boy.
So, but anyway, you CareNet. Let's go back to that because it's more serious, and people
Less
need to
funny.
people need to be supportive of CareNet and,
Yes,
and
yes.
the pregnancy centers. They're the ones that are really reaching out to the. There's a lot of hurting women in our country,
Oh yeah.
right? And this whole abortion regime is a big part of it. Part of the reason why, because it's given men the ability to exploit women in ways they never could before. When you and I were young, right? If you had relations with a woman and something happened, you were going to be held responsible for that.
Right.
Today, your responsibility is to say, well, all right, you check. Get down over there to Planned Parenthood and get it taken care of,
Right. Right.
right?
Well, it's still ultimately her choice, though, whether to do that or not.
Why is that so?
Well, the man doesn't ultimately have. I mean, how much say the man has in what decision is made really is up to her. It's ultimately up to her whether to.
Well, you
whether to do
you
that
say
or
that,
not.
but I say to you, there are two parents,
Right.
and they naturally have parental rights.
Oh, I agree in principle, but
Okay.
I'm just saying
So
practically, though.
So I agree that the law is outrageous and denies men their natural parental rights. I agree to that.
Yeah.
And consequently, we're in a place where women are given an enormous amount of responsibility, more than they should have to bear. But that doesn't make it right.
Yeah, I think currently, most guys, because they like messing around, because that's what society has taught
That's what
them.
guys. No, that's what guys
What
are.
guys want to do anyway.
There's guys and there's girls. Remember this, Gary. Guys, girls. Guys. Never mind.
Write that down and send me an email on that one.
Oh, I put it in my phone.
You put it in your phone?
It's in my phone, and
All
I'll
right.
forward it to you.
Thank you. You know, guys naturally want to mess around. And the way the culture is now, like you said, the inclination is, well, if she's pregnant, well, get an abortion. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And it's her responsibility to use birth control.
right,
It's not yours.
Right.
It's hers.
yeah.
Right? It's all on her.
Everything.
It's all men exploiting women. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
This whole sexual revolution, that's where it's taken us, is to men exploiting women.
Well, these are generalizations, though. I mean, some women like to mess around, and some men don't.
No, I understand it's a generalization, but
I can remember when I was a kid, they used to say that boys were going out going, the girls were going around going, when? The boys were going out, now.
Right.
But they
Well-
used to have a lot to protect them from the now, when they were going when.
right, but there's nothing now.
Now there's nothing.
right.
That's right.
Yeah, there was actually still back in the 70s and 60s when I was growing up, there was still that barrier that you weren't,
Yeah, the when was when you get married.
you know, and that was
That was
slow.
still there in the 70s?
It was fading quickly.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
No, it really was.
Yeah.
Because you had that, and you had the breakdown of the family anyway, because they had destroyed the meaning of marriage to begin with. Because back then it meant you got married, you stay married.
Right. Well, a number of these
And
things.
then in the 70s it says, well, you stay married, you get married, you stay married, well, until somebody doesn't feel like it.
You know, it's a fascinating thing that happened, no-fault divorce. That was one of the greatest tragedies we've ever had.
Gary's talked about that a lot on the show.
And I know men and I know women who are just devastated by divorce because their other just wanted to.
Right, just wanted to.
Not for any real reason, just wanted to.
Right, I'm
Because
not
it was
happy I
difficult
went
now.
out.
Yeah, I can pursue greener pastures somewhere else, right?
Right, yeah.
But the devastation on children and the outworkings of that in our society now are just enormous. I mean, you look at the problems that we have. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about drug use or juvenile delinquency and crime. These things stem from the breakdown in the family.
You know, the one thing that I haven't talked a lot about is because it breaks that, when parents get divorced, it breaks that bond, it breaks the security
Yes.
for children and stuff like that. One of the consequences that people don't know about is that a parent who gets divorced is much less likely to be taken care of in old age by their children.
Oh,
Well, that makes sense.
that's interesting.
And-
Yeah.
Because you hurt me that bad when I'm
No,
young.
it's got nothing to do. I don't think
Oh, it
it's. I don't
does.
think it's a vindictive thing. It's just a function of you've broken that barrier,
That bond.
that bond, and you've integrated all this insecurity into it, and there's not that loyalty.
That's part of it, I'm sure.
You know, before parents were loyal to their children no matter what,
That's right.
Right.
to the point where we're loyal to our children until my secretary said,
Well, no, I mean
let's
they
go
were.
out to lunch.
The idea that people stayed married for the sake of their children
Right.
was true.
Yeah.
They did.
Sure.
Lots of people did.
Yeah.
Right. That, it's we talk about how we teach our children and how they grow up and all. See, that's such a powerful lesson to the child.
Yeah.
First of all, the child learns that there's such a thing as permanency in relationship. Permanency in the child's relationship to the parents and in the parents' relationship with each other, even if it isn't a very good one. And that's more important than what feels good for me,
Right.
right? Well, that's a powerful lesson for a child who's going to grow up into be an adult and going to continue teaching that to their children. When you teach them that, well, whatever feels good is what you do and nothing else matters. Your children don't matter. Your husband and wife don't matter. Just go out and do what you want because you can.
Yeah.
Are we surprised then that they grow up irresponsible?
Do you guys think people just take marriage itself too lightly in terms of entering into marriage, and that's part of the problem?
No, not really. Possibly, but like for instance, one of the arguments say, well, I'll live together. They want to live together and try it out before they get into something as serious as marriage. And typically those marriages fail at a greater rate than people who just get married.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I was surprised.
It's true.
It doesn't sound logical, but
Yeah.
it's factual.
Well, the reason I ask that is because I'm always struck by, it seems to me that people take marriage lightly. You know, you see celebrities and people emulate celebrities who get married on a whim, you know, and then they're divorced in 72 hours. Or we exist in an era where we have television shows like The Bachelor and Who Wants to Marry a Millionaire, and you can go to Vegas and literally do a drive-through wedding if you want to. So I think a lot of people just take marriage really lightly. And
Well, they do.
People get married really young, and I mean, in some instances it's because of a pregnancy, but in other instances it's just because, oh, I'm 17, but I already know I've met the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, even though that very often doesn't work out.
Right.
So I think people take
Well-
marriage itself very lightly in a lot of
Well,
cases.
they do take it lightly, right? And
Yeah.
a big part of the reason they do is because we have no-fault divorce, right?
Oh, it
And
doesn't
what-
matter if it doesn't work out because we
See,
can get out
look
of
at what
it.
you
Yeah.
just said. Was that true back in the 70s?
60s, 70s was a
Okay.
breakdown.
The fact is that we're now in the 10s. 40 years ago, it was not true that there was such a thing as no fault. But now we've lived through 40 years. That's a
Right.
couple of generations of children
Yeah.
have grown up with the idea that you dissolve marriage on a whim.
Right, it's just a contract.
It's just,
yeah.
and how
Well, it's
many...
not even a contract.
And-
if
and-
you wanted to break, if he
It's
and I
just-
entered into a business and we wanted to break that contract,
Mm-hmm.
it's far more complicated
Right. Than a marriage, yeah.
than a
It is.
marriage.
We should probably clarify too for viewers what no fault divorce is exactly for those who don't know.
No fault divorce was introduced in California and signed into law by President Reagan or Governor Reagan, and years later he regretted. He said it was one of the worst things he's ever done.
Yeah.
But basically, what it amounted to is prior to the late 70s or early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, if somebody wanted to get divorced, there had to be a fault grounds to get divorced. In other words, if my wife wanted to divorce me, there had to be adultery, there had to be abuse, there had to be abandonment, and a few other
That's
reasons.
pretty much it.
Really? Yeah.
And so there had to be, society held marriage to be so important, especially for society itself, and that it held that if you wanted to get divorced, you had to have a real reason to get divorced.
Yeah.
The argument in the 70s, because it was the me kind of thing, it's all about me, changed from the loyalty to the marriage and your partner and to your children to a loyalty to your own self and what you feel is best. And they introduced no-fault divorce, which changed the whole dynamics, because now it was, the argument was, if I'm not happy, my children aren't happy, so therefore if I get divorced and I'm happy, that makes my children happy.
Right.
Okay?
Which is a pretty selfish way of looking
It's
at
an
it. Yeah.
it's
But that is the argument.
it is,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's completely untrue.
Yeah.
Right. And what we found is, and you can, who is it? Her name will come to me in a minute. Has written on this quite a bit. You'll find that she wrote a book called Children of Divorce,
Maggie Gallagher?
Maggie Gallagher. And you'll find that children of from divorce, don't get married as readily as anybody else. And when they do, they get divorced more often.
Right.
Why is that? It's because they were taught. See, they were taught.
Well, actually, you know,
they were taught that these relationships are not permanent.
Well, I'm a good example of that. I've never been, like I said, I've never been married, and my dad has been married and divorced twice. My mom's on her fourth marriage.
Wow.
So yeah, I look at it pretty cynically.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I do. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
how could I not?
And,
You
then,
know?
and
Yeah.
then you add on all those things that you were talking about before, all the celebrities, the television programs, which they say, oh, those don't influence anybody.
Right.
Right? The 30-second commercials they pay millions of dollars to have a 30-second commercial because it doesn't influence anybody, right? No.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the argument they make.
Right.
Of course they influence people. So we've
course,
got all
yeah.
of that going on.
Oh yeah.
And it's not surprising the marriage is really under assault. And then you come into to the homosexual movement, right? And they're trying to completely destroy marriage. And in our
Well,
state, they're close.
I disagree with that.
Well, I want to
characterization.
back up a little bit. There's another offshoot of that, the divorce, and that is, and I would gather a large part of this is because for a young woman there isn't that connection with dad,
Mhm. Sure.
So because there's not that connection, they tend to look for it elsewhere.
Is that our other guest? Or?
No?
No?
Oh, he may be down in the room at the other end.
Because there's not that connection, young women are looking for that male connection at an earlier age, which increases promiscuity, which actually increases the likelihood of abortion.
Yeah, if you see the movie Courageous, has been out recently.
I've been told to see it, but I have not
It's
seen
a
it.
wonderful thing, and it's about fatherhood. And one of the characters has a daughter, right? And he has her under control. How do I want to put this? He respects her and loves her so much. He takes her out to dinner and he says, gives her a ring, and has her commit to she will not go out with any man, she will not marry anybody without his consent, right? Because he tells her how important she is to him, right? That he loves her so much that he will do anything for her, and the best thing he can do for her is protect her from all those bad boys that are out there and all those bad men,
Right.
right? That role, and it's two parts to it, Gary. The part of the father to the daughter teaches the daughter how a man should respect a woman, teaches her that she has value, and we're all in a very physical beauty type society, right? Well, father's love does not say that to his daughter. He doesn't
Right.
say you have to be physically beautiful for me to love you.
Right.
He says, I love you, and it doesn't matter what you look like. What an important message that is for our young women, right? But they don't get it if they don't have a father in the home.
Right.
Similarly, between the husband and the wife, models how a husband should treat his wife, and the girl now expects boys, young men, to treat her with the respect and the honor, the dignity that the father shows to the mother.
Right.
So she grows up with all these expectations, and guess what? Makes life for guys like you tough. But now, you have all these single mothers with no fathers in the home, and it's particularly egregious in the minority communities, in the black community especially.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they get hit with a double. They get hit with a double whammy. They were hit with first of all, abortion, Planned Parenthood, and things like that have been excessively encouraged in the black home and in society. You had
the black abortion rate is only about 3 times as high as it is for whites.
yeah.
That's all. Just about three blacks
Yeah, I think it was last
by,
year that there
by
was
population, 3
in New-
times as much.
Wow.
in New York City there was more black children aborted than born.
Wow, no kidding.
61% of black pregnancies in New York ended up in abortion last.
Wow.
Well, I don't know if it was last year or the year before.
Last year, could be the year before.
but that's where they are.
Stunning.
But the black community got hit with a double whammy. They had the introduction of no fault divorce, okay, and then you had the war on poverty. So the war on poverty told the little young black girl, "We will give you a place to live, this much money a week, because you have a child out of wedlock."
Right. As long as you don't bring the father into the home.
Welfare.
If the husband comes home,
you get
or
married,
the
you
boyfriend
lose
comes
that.
back,
Right. Right.
you're done.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
done.
Oh, yeah, I knew we were in real trouble. I was watching TV one night, and this is quite a few years ago now, and I forget what it was, some news program, and they talked to this girl, and she says, well, I think I can be successful at being a single mother because my mother was. I can be successful at being a single mother. This is her
Yeah.
goal in life.
Well, that's another. What was that? Another example of a bad reality show. That 16 and Pregnant, which is
Oh, yeah.
big.
Yeah. But so the black community.
Although I got to give them one shout out for that program. They did actually show abortion in a negative light. They did actually
Oh.
show a girl was pregnant and really tortured over the idea of having an
Oh, no
abortion,
kidding.
which
Yeah.
is where naturally women are,
Right.
right? Which is one of the reasons why they have so many problems after abortion, is because they're naturally inclined to carry that child.
Right.
But the black community got hit with the war on poverty, which basically encouraged them to have children out of wedlock, and discouraged intact homes. The increase of divorce, in the early '60s or mid '60s, 25% of black families were, or 75% were brought up with both biological role models in the home. the black community was actually on the way up
Yeah.
as far as socially and economically. It was
Yeah.
actually starting to do very well. Then they had the war on poverty and the no-fault divorce. You went from that to, by the year 2000, 75% of the children, the black children, were brought up in single or broken homes. 75%. Completely flipped the numbers. And if you look at, and to prove my point, because you're told that the black community, the problem is that is poverty and racism. Well, if it was poverty and racism, if that was the real issue, the fact of the matter is the number of young black boys and girls would be identical going into college.
Mhm.
But they are not. It's 2 to 1. Twice as many young black girls go into college as boys. Because all of those
Yeah.
girls, almost all of them, have a biological role model in the home, but most of the boys don't.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. And most of the boys end up in jail.
Yeah, instead
Why
of
is
going
that?
to Yale,
It's
they go
'cause
to...
they didn't have fathers to teach them how to behave,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
right? And so they grew up in the
Yeah,
streets.
they learn what they
and
learned from
and
the local drug
you see that in
dealer or
Courageous,
whomever.
too, in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Anyway, you came here to talk about Senate bills. Let's make sure we...
Thank you.
That was an interesting discussion, though.
Well, and it goes on and on and on. I mean, Planned Parenthood.
No, we're talking about Senate bills here. No, I'm just kidding.
This whole, well, I mean, this is great foundational work to talk about anything, because I'm president of New Hampshire Right to Life, and I want to talk about life bills. But this is great foundational work for why these are so important, because this whole business is supported by abortion. If it weren't for abortion, these things could not be, because women would have to have their children. The men would have to, and they're then
I never
hold the
actually-
men
you know, I had thought-
accountable.
You know, I
Right.
hadn't actually thought about that. That's actually...
But the only reason you can have 75% of the children in black communities growing up in single mother homes is because the men get away scot-free because the women can have abortions. And so the men have no responsibility whatsoever. And that's exactly how they treat black women. They just have no responsibility whatsoever. So anyway, Senate bills. And this is spreading, of course. When we're over 1 million abortions a year in our country, this is not a small thing. Right? And it undermines everything that this country stands for. And
Oh, yeah.
It's just destroying the families, it's destroying marriage, it's
I think
just destroying
was it... Okay, now
it's
I'm
death
gonna...
and destruction writ large.
Yeah, yeah, basically, because back in the 60s, you had 6% of children born out of wedlock. Early 60s. Guess what it was last year? 36%.
Oh,
the
more than
chil-
more than a third. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you got 36% of your children being born out of wedlock without dad in the home, and I think most of that's common sense. I mean, really, especially as guys, how much control did your mother have on you by the time you were 15 or 16?
Oh, not
Almost
much.
none.
Right. Right.
Almost none. I
Right.
mean, really, she's gonna.
And even
you
earlier
come
than
home
that.
and she yells at you. Go.
I mean, I was bigger than my mother when I was like 12.
right.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're not smart enough or wise enough to realize that you should curtail that physical
Aggression.
No, physical dominance,
Yeah.
basically. Okay, so if you're not wise enough and you don't have dad there ready to pop you right in the head if you tried anything,
Right.
I,
It's usually the men are supposed to defend women, not attack them.
right,
Right.
right, you know.
So that's what we do in the life movement. We defend women. And tomorrow,
okay,
we're gonna, watch this segue. This will be good.
a good segue. Okay.
Tomorrow, in the 1:20 tomorrow afternoon, they're going to have a hearing in the Senate on House Bill 1659, the Women's Right to Know Act. Or the
Okay, wait,
Women's
let's
Informed
stop,
Consent Act.
stop, just a quick second. So it's Senate Bill what?
It's
House
House
Bill.
Bill 1659,
Okay, House Bill 1659 tomorrow at
1:20.
1:20 in the afternoon. If you've never been to the legislature, you should. And if you care about this subject matter, even if you don't testify on it, go up and watch.
Right.
You really should. People really should get involved and at least go up there, because if nothing else, this will be to really show you the contrast between the different views. And you don't have, it's free, you just go in, you can sit down, or,
Well, maybe you can.
maybe you can sit
Last week
down.
it was standing room only out
Standing
into
room-
the hall for House Bill 228, but
Right.
that's another story.
but I'm just saying, I'm just encouraging people to go up to the Legislative Office Building, which is directly in
No,
back.
it's in the State House.
It's in the State House?
Senate room, SB 100, it's on the first floor of the State House.
Okay, so right in the State House up in Concord. So, I really encourage people to go up there and check it out. If you've never gone to a legislative hearing, go up there and watch it. So, anyway, so this is,
right, so
right to know, the right,
Woman's right to know, and what the bill basically says is that the doctor or some other qualified person has to counsel the woman about the medical, psychological, and other effects of abortion at least 24 hours before the abortion.
right.
This appears the 24 hours seems to be the hang-up, right, with the abortionists. Oh, this is terrible, you make a woman wait 24 hours to have an abortion,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Is there any statistics to associated with that? Because 24-hour waiting period is, I believe, not just in New Hampshire, it's all over the place.
Well, there's other states that have it, but they don't, it's always comes with, in some kind of a bill like this informed
Right.
consent bill.
Is there a link between the quantity of abortions prior and post?
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely. In fact, right there, you'll see, I got a thing from...
It's a
right
hand
here.
grenade.
It's a hand grenade. Yeah, this is a news article.
Oh, that,
from,
yeah,
November,
yeah.
November of 2010, and this pro-abort is saying Britain needs to have informed consent because France and Germany and Belgium all have it, and they have much lower abortion rates than they have in Britain, right? And we've seen the same thing in the United States. If you start telling, see, women are not told, and we know this from the research on post-abortive women. Women are not much counseled at all,
Right.
right? And and I just say, I mean, you can read Abby Johnson's book Unplanned. You can listen to Sue Thayer, or there's dozens of former Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers, personnel who have come out and told us this. What they do is they sell them abortion. They never use the word baby, right? They never talk about fetal development. They don't do any of those types of things because they want to disassociate the mother from the idea that she's carrying a child.
And you want to hear, so this is, I'd never seen this pointed out before, but it was on Facebook. They have a poster, like Facebook has a lot of posters of sayings, and it was a poster with basically a zoom photograph of a single-cell creature.
Oh,
And
yeah, I
they-
saw that.
And they said, it says on the caption is, it's amazing that scientists, if they found a single-celled animal on the moon or any other planet in the universe, they would say, that's amazing, there's
Life.
life on Mars.
Right, yeah.
But when it's in a mother's womb, it's not life at all.
No,
It's,
it's a clump of tissue. It's a product of
it's an
conception.
accident.
Yeah, it's nothing, and they're very good at using language like that that disassociates the woman from her baby. So anyway, if women actually were told these things, and it's amazing how many of them really don't know. With all the sex education and all we have in our schools and everything,
Right.
you would think the woman would know about fetal development,
Right.
right? But I can tell you, quite frankly, this is about the best witnessing tool out there, right? Which is a 10 to 12-week-old baby,
Let me see.
Right.
right? And you show this
Is it
to young women, and you say to them, how old is that?
let's see, you know what you need is a black background so you can actually see the,
Yeah.
because I can't, because your hand's the same
Right?
color.
Because they don't know. They don't know it.
I can't do it.
22
Matt.
days the heart is beating. They don't know that.
Can you see it
and
there?
They, and they
Oh,
can
yeah.
pick it
I
up,
can see it on the monitor, yeah.
right? Yeah.
Let-
Turn around, face the camera. So anyway, they don't know,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's
And
how many weeks?
10 weeks.
10 weeks. That's the size of a baby at 10 weeks. That's pretty cool.
Now, is the objections something like this? Obviously, this doesn't end abortion. It doesn't outlaw
It
abortion.
doesn't outlaw any abortions at all.
But what do you?
All it does is it gives the woman, or it says to the providers, you have to give the woman information about the development of her
Right.
baby and about the medical and other consequences of abortion. And those are
Right.
huge.
Which makes sense that, and this is coming from someone, I'm personally pro-choice.
Okay.
But I agree with this type of legislation because anything that you're having done medically,
Yeah.
you should be informed of
Yeah.
all the potential consequences. You should want as much knowledge and information
Oh,
about what
absolutely.
may happen, what could happen, what you're dealing with as possible.
All right, have you ever seen
So I agree
have
with
you ever seen a Viagra ad on television?
Yeah, and they have all the
Half the ad is the
half the ad is all the reasons you shouldn't take it.
all the
Yeah.
stuff you should
Yeah.
know. And that's why, because every other place in the field of medicine. But see, abortion is not healthcare, and it's not medicine. Right? Because medicine, healthcare, is about preserving and protecting life. Abortion is about killing babies.
Now, what do you say? So, because a lot of people who are pro-choice, they use the slippery slope argument. They say, "Oh, you're just trying to. This is just the first step," and that's why they argue against overturning Roe v. Wade, for example. Oh, this is just the first step to outline abortion. I mean, what do you say to
you
them?
would basically
I'd say they're right.
Yeah.
I would say that they're
You
right.
don't care
Look,
if they think
I'm
that
not,
because
I'm not going to
that's-
sit here and tell you that I don't think abortion
Right.
should be absolutely illegal.
So for you,
It
the
absolutely
end
should be.
game. So the end
Right.
game is
But
to outlaw abortion ultimately.
We're
for you.
working within
for
the
him,
system.
yeah, but-
We're working within the system
Right.
to do what's best for the mother and for the baby.
Right.
Now, it's always best for the baby to live. Okay, so you'd think that
Right.
would be a non sequitur, but something like 80 or maybe up to 90% of Down syndrome are diagnosed, prenatally diagnosed Down syndrome children are aborted in our country.
Right.
Think about that, 80 or 90%.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
huge.
but that's
right?
that.
So their lives are just snuffed out because they're not good enough. They're not good enough to live. They're better off dead than living. I don't get that,
Right. There's still people. Yeah.
right? But that's where they are. But the women themselves, right, are not told about the surgical risks of abortion, about the risks of infection,
Right.
right, that type of thing. They're not told that they might become sterile because of the procedure, because of damage to their reproductive organs. They're not told that they might still be able to get pregnant, but not be able to carry the child to term
Yeah.
because the abortion damages them. They're not told that if they get pregnant and they can carry the baby, they're way more likely to have very early birth or early birth, which is a primary precursor to birth defects, to disabilities. These are consequences to them and to their future children that they're not being told about at all,
Right.
right? Because that's not even a baby in there, remember.
I think you forgot a big one too, is the propensity for the mother to have suicidal thoughts afterwards.
I hadn't
which
got
is,
there yet.
Oh, sorry.
There are so many of these things, and they're
Yeah.
so serious,
Right.
right? That you get on a train and you just go where that train goes, and that train was going down the path I went. Death, right? Do you know what the leading cause of death for pregnant women is in our country today? And you want to guess? Homicide. Think about that. Murder is the leading cause of death of a pregnant woman. Now, I wouldn't think of pregnancy as being something that would cause murder.
Right.
Why does it? It's because of abortion. If you don't get an abortion, I'll kill you. And guess what they do? That's the number one killer.
Wow.
The number one,
Really?
homicide of pregnant women in our country. Homicide is the number one cause of death. That is not something that the pregnancy center.
Okay, hey, wait. Percentage of homicides because of pregnancy.
Oh, I have no idea.
What are the percentages that are actually the women are married? I
have
bet
no-
you it's zero.
I wouldn't think so.
Pretty close to zero, I bet.
Right? I mean, I read too much of this stuff, so I know it's not zero. It might be close, but it doesn't really matter.
Well, it does because
Right.
the reason
Because-
I'm saying is because I know statistically a woman is always safer in a marriage than they are dating
In any
or
other,
with
any
any
other type of
relationship.
relationship.
Oh, sure.
That's correct.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So anyway, but after abortion, right, women are something like, they die 4 times faster than other women from all causes. Now, and you have to remember that when you're talking about pregnant women, you're talking about young, healthy women, right? These are not sick people, right? But yet when they have abortions, they die 4 times faster from all kinds of things. Accidents, right? Drug abuse. It's a sequelae of abortion, right? Suicide, 6 times. 6 times higher suicide rate for post-abortive women
Yeah.
compared to women that carried a term,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we actually had someone come on and talk about post-abortion stress.
Yeah.
Post-abortion
Stress
stress.
disorder, rather. Yeah.
Post-abortion syndrome, they're starting to call it.
Yeah.
Just like post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
now they have post-abortion stress disorder.
Yeah.
All right? It isn't officially recognized yet, but something like 2/3 of all post-abortive women show all the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder.
That only makes sense.
And a substantial number of them actually have it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a very traumatic event. It's traumatic for the woman because she's in a very highly emotional position when she seeks the abortion. She's got the natural tendency, something like 85 to 90% of women who have abortions want their babies. They want to keep those babies, but they're not for other reasons. And mostly, who was it? It was Frederica Matthew Green said that. She's a feminist. She said abortion is a choice that, the fox that's caught in a trap makes a choice to gnaw off its own leg.
Oh.
That's the kind of choice that abortion is.
Yeah,
Right?
so
Women are in
that's
terrible
actually
situations, and believe me, and
that's
they are,
actually
a lot of them.
that's a good example. How traumatized would you be if you had to chew off your own arm
Yeah.
to get out of a trap?
Yeah.
That'd mess you up for a long time. Hey, what other before we run out of time, what other Senate bills we got coming up?
Oh, wow. You caught me off guard. We had
Aha!
228, we got 1659. 1653 didn't pass the House. There's a partial birth abortion ban that passed the House.
Yes.
I don't know the bill number on that, and I don't know when they're coming up in the Senate either.
Right.
There's the 20-week fetal pain bill. Can't do abortions after 20 weeks, which is when we've pretty well established that the babies can feel pain.
It's also after 20 weeks. I think the baby's also, isn't that about the time, or right about that time that the baby actually is
Viable?
viable?
Not usually until 23 weeks.
Oh, okay, it's 23, right?
Maybe as early as 22. I think the earliest that one has actually survived is 21.
Right.
But
Right at
those
that
are-
cusp, anyway.
It's almost exactly there. It's usually just a couple weeks. So, of course, development happens quite fast in the life of the baby.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but at 24 weeks, I think the survival rate is something like 75%, and at 23 weeks, it's under 50. At 22 weeks, it's under 30. But yeah, it's close. And now we know that the nerve endings are all tied in together, and there are different schools of thought on whether the baby can actually feel pain or not.
Yeah.
But this has been passed in, I think, 6 states already this year.
Yeah.
And so far, it has not been challenged by the pro-aborts.
It's actually
And
kind
the
of
argument against it in New Hampshire is they're going to say, well, we don't do those abortions in New Hampshire anyway.
Yeah, they say that, but they're
That's what they
speaking,
say.
they're speaking
Yeah,
on
I've
both
heard
sides
that,
of the
yeah.
mouth, because in committee, because I was on the committee, they would say, on one hand, well, we don't actually perform those. No, they said one thing they say was, well, these are federally prohibited. Okay.
That's partial birth abortion, yeah.
Yeah, but then they said, but we don't perform those in this state anyway, which is a complete contradiction. If they're federally prohibited, how can they be allowed anywhere? Well, they can be allowed anywhere because it's, I think, federally
Well, federal law
prohibited.
does not govern everywhere. We have federal law and we have state law.
Right,
Federal law applies where federal money is.
right. So if
Right.
it's, so if it's a
But if there's
state-funded
no federal,
institution.
if there's no federal money there, then federal law does not apply.
Oh, that's
So-
how that works.
Yeah,
Okay.
but when they're testifying committee, they say, well, this is federally prohibited, which makes you sound like it's illegal, but that's
Yes.
not that's
No.
what they're implying.
Right,
Yeah.
But that's not what they mean.
right.
Right,
And as
okay.
far as I'm concerned, I always say, well, look, if you're not doing it now, what's the problem with having a law saying you can't do it in the future?
Right.
What's the problem?
No,
Right,
the
yeah.
fact
Why are you
is,
standing up here arguing against this?
Right.
If you're not doing it,
Unless there's
and you
an
don't
intent-
want to do it.
Right, unless there's an intention.
Right?
to
The reason we have
perhaps-
laws to say to you, no, you can't do this.
Right, yeah.
you know,
Right?
it was funny when I did the.
So we really need to, I think, to be supportive of those bills. And oh, by the way, I give myself a plug here. For all of you that want to know about these things when they're happening, if you go to nhrtl.org and you click on the link to sign up for our e-alerts, I send them out. when these things are coming up, and you know about House hearings, Senate hearings, and a lot of good pro-life stuff that's going on in our state, because we do try to be supportive of the other organizations and people who are doing good pro-life stuff in our state.
Yeah, yeah. There's speaking of shout-outs, as much as I have been pretty angry at some of the stuff our leadership in the House has done this year,
Yes.
in the last year,
Or not done in one case.
or not done.
No, come on. That's a whole nother program.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact of the matter is, as far as the pro-life stuff, it's actually been, I've never seen it go this well.
No,
Not even
well,
close.
we had a big election. President Obama has been another great boon to the pro-life movement.
And why?
Well, because somehow or other, maybe it's because he's such a radical pro-abort and because he's so adamant about jamming it down everybody's throat. I'm not quite sure. But a year after he took office, for the first time in polling history, a majority of Americans call themselves pro-life. And that number has increased each year that he's been in office. So that's a good thing, right? Now, we've always had strong majorities, 60, 70, 80%, depending on the thing you're talking about. For like informed consent, we've always had like
Right,
70,
right.
80% of people saying, well, yeah, women should know about these things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
we've
like I
always
said,
had that.
I'm pro-choice, but I agree with that.
Right,
Yeah, it
as we
was-
should, because we're looking out to protect women, right?
Right,
And so even the people that are on the other side should be able to agree with us.
Right.
But the abortion industry, and I'm starting to talk about it a lot more in that way now, the abortion industry, this $1 billion+ a year industry in our country, is opposed. And they have power.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So, but anyway, as I think that the election we saw here in 2010, as nationally, was a significant reaction to President Obama. And so we elected a much more conservative legislature than what we have in the past.
Yeah, I know last year we got through parental notification,
Yes.
Which I also agree with.
which, yeah,
Sure.
most people do.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
regardless of the fact that most people do, in my first term in 2000, we had a majority in Republicans, and we had Gene Sheen in the corner office. It failed.
Yeah,
Did not, okay? It didn't, I don't even think it got out of the House.
yeah.
Second term, we had a super majority, okay? And we squeaked it by the House,
Yeah.
squeaked by the Senate, and it was signed by Governor Benson, because that was in 2003,
Cool.
Okay.
okay? And, but this year,
And then the Democrats got in and repealed it.
Yeah.
well, they took it to court immediately,
Well,
so it
it
didn't
doesn't
take
matter.
effect.
They got in and repealed it.
Yeah, they actually.
What happened in the court's beside the point.
Right, but when the Democrats took control, what people don't understand, because you'll hear them saying, well, why aren't there, as soon as we got into office, or this last election, they'd say, well, why aren't they concentrating on the economy? The fact of the matter is, as soon as the Democrats had a majority in the House, and they took over the House and the Senate, what I believe it was the first thing they did was repeal parental notification. It went through like poop through a goose.
Yep.
There's an expression I'm not familiar with, Gary,
Yes.
but I like it, and if you don't mind, I will use it myself from time to time in
Anyway.
conversation, and I will credit you with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I will, yes.
And
Another of
so,
his inventions.
That's right.
so anyway, we got to bail out. Kurt, thank you very much for coming on again.
My pleasure, anytime.
And so that's website again.
NHRTL.org.
NHRTL.org.
Right, New Hampshire Right to Life. And there's a link in the upper right-hand side. You can click and we'll send you e-alerts.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Go up to the Senate tomorrow. I think people should, if you can, get up there. If nothing else, it's interesting. Get in touch with CareNet. CareNet, their Walk for Life is going to be in a few weeks.
That's carenetnh.org.
CareNet.nh. Get involved in that, because unlike Planned Parenthood, they don't get any federal or state money. It's all personal donations
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
and volunteers doing all the work.
Yeah.
And unlike Planned Parenthood, their services are free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They don't suspend services because the government cuts them out of contract.
Right. The other thing is, if people have been watching this show again, one of the Cheryl Mayer's friend is Charlene, and she actually I was a judge last Saturday
Yeah,
at
that go well? Was
a
that
beauty contest down in Mount. It was fun.
I was jealous. I would have liked to have gone with you.
I actually invited Matt, but
Yeah,
he
I-
couldn't because he had to
I
work.
couldn't go. Yeah.
Yeah, and so anyway, my wife and I went down to that. It was a really fun. She's going to be on the show next week,
Excellent.
and I got to meet Miss New Hampshire,
Yeah. Good.
which is super cool because not only is she really really pretty, but she's really cool. She has a favorite caliber, .357 Magnum.
Whoa.
She's definitely New Hampshire.
Yeah, yeah.
That's definitely New Hampshire.
Yes.
Really nice lady. We're going to try to get her on in a few weeks because she's got a charity thing for autism coming up, and I was hoping to get her on and talk about that.
Great.
And I think we're all done for today. See you next week. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.